Today is December 7th, 2025, and you are listening to Boquete Weekly. I'm Sean Murphy, and this is your source for English-speaking news in Boquete. This episode is brought to you by Surfshark VPN. Living in beautiful Boquete means enjoying mountain air, incredible coffee, and a slower pace of life. But let's be honest, it can also mean frustration when you're trying to access banking at home, stream your favorite shows on TV, or manage accounts that suddenly think you're in the wrong country. That's where today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN, comes in. Surfshark lets you browse the internet as if you were back in the United States or anywhere else in the world. Need to check your US bank account? Need to stream Netflix like you're in Miami? Access services that are geographically restricted? Surfshark makes it simple and secure. But here's what really sets Surfshark apart. Unlimited device connections. That means your laptop, your phone, your tablet, and even your smart TV can all connect under one account. No need to choose which devices get coverage. And with military-grade encryption, your online activity stays private, whether you're checking email, at a Boquete coffee shop, managing finances, or just browsing the web. Right now, Surfshark is offering 24 months for $45.63. That's $1.69 per month when you buy 24 at once. And listeners to this show get an extra 3 months free when you sign up using the link boquetedeals.online/VPN. A few things to note before we begin. This show has recently been approved for Apple subscriptions. That means that if you are listening to us on the Apple Podcast app, there is an option to subscribe to this show within the app. For $5 a month or $50 a year, you can receive an ad-free version of this show. If you are not on the Apple Podcast app but would still like to subscribe to this show, please go to patreon.com/boquete and listen at the end of the show for details on what benefits you can get by subscribing. Before we begin, an important note. Boquete Weekly provides English summaries and translations of news stories originally published in Spanish-language media outlets, including La Prensa, El Panamá América, La Estrella de Panama, TV in Panama, and other sources. I am not the original reporter of these stories. All content is based on publicly available news sources, and I make every effort to accurately represent the original reporting. The views and information presented in this source material do not necessarily reflect my own opinions. In Latin American news, Honduras's Nasralla holds narrow lead over Asfura in presidential vote. With 80% of votes counted, centrist candidate widens over his Trump-backed conservative rival. Honduran presidential candidate Salvador Nasralla has widened a lead over his conservative rival, Nasri Asufra, who is backed by United States President Donald Trump as the counting of votes continued for a fourth day. With 80.29% of ballots tallied on Wednesday, the centrist Liberal Party's Nasralla held 40.23%, while the National Party's Asufra held 39.69%, according to the country's National Electoral Council. Nasralla's lead over Asufra was less than 14,000 votes. Rixi Moncada of the ruling leftist Libre Party was behind in third place with 19.0% of the vote. The result was still too early to call, according to the National Electoral Council. The Honduran presidency is decided in a single round, and the candidate with the most votes wins, even if the margin is narrow or they fall short of an absolute majority. The election on Sunday was fiercely contested, and the counting of votes has been delayed by technical difficulties. The National Electoral Council on Wednesday suspended vote counting for a second time, with members of the Electoral Council blaming the company behind the tabulating platform for the outages. National Electoral Council official Cosette Lopez Osorio said the latest counting halt was due to system maintenance that was done without proper notice, and added she considered it inexcusable. Nasralla, a 72-year-old television presenter, remained confident despite the problems. Quote, "Either way, we're going to win," end quote, he wrote on X. Election observers from the European Union and the Organization of American States, as well as Honduras's electoral authority, have called for calm and patience as the final votes are counted. Ballots are still arriving from remote areas, some of which are only accessible by donkey or river boats, according to the National Electoral Council, and the declaration of a winner may still be days away. Early preliminary results released on Monday had originally shown Asufra with a slim lead of some 500 votes. Election organizers declared a, quote, technical tie, end quote, and said votes would have to be counted by hand. When the count was updated on Tuesday, Nasura had swung into a narrow lead. U.S. President Trump on Monday alleged election fraud without providing evidence, saying on his Truth Social account that Honduras was, quote, trying to change the results of their presidential election, end quote. President Trump said, quote, if they do, there will be hell to pay. The people of Honduras voted in overwhelming numbers on November 30th, end quote. Trump has threatened to stop U.S. aid to Honduras if Asufra does not win. In 2024, the U.S. provided $193.5 million in aid to the Central American country. The National Electoral Council legally has 1 month to announce a winner. Moncada, the ruling party candidate, told Telesur television news network on Wednesday that the vote transmission system was flawed and criticized it as lacking transparency, referring to Trump's accusations of fraud, which he said violated international protocols. Moncada said this marked, quote, a direct intervention that affects the interest of the Honduran people, end quote. President Trump has also granted a pardon to Juan Orlando Hernandez, a former president of Asfura's National Party who had been serving a 45-year sentence in the U.S. for drug trafficking. The 57-year-old lawyer was released on Monday in what was widely perceived as more interference. In his first social media post since being released, Hernandez on Wednesday thanked Trump, saying he, quote, changed my life, end quote. Earlier, in a 4-page letter to the U.S. president, published by the media on Wednesday, Hernandez said, quote, just as you, President Trump, I have suffered political persecution, end quote. Hernandez's wife, Ana Garcia, told the AFP news agency he would not be returning home immediately due to security fears. This story was originally reported by Al Jazeera. Paleontologists have found tens of thousands of dinosaur tracks in South America, which offer evidence as to which species were traveling via an ancient coastline. A total of nearly 18,000 tracks, including 16,000 footprints, as well as 1,378 swim tracks and several tail traces, have been located in the Carayas Pampa track site, an ancient coastline located in Toro National Park in central Bolivia, according to a paper published in PLOS1 on Wednesday. The ripple marks extend in a northwest-southeast direction, which probably indicate how the dinosaurs and other animals moved along the paleo coastline, according to the paper. Most of the tracks belong to theropods, a clade of dinosaurs from the Cretaceous period, known for their bipedal mode of walking that include the Tyrannosaurus rex, according to the study. Some of the preserved tracks, estimated to have been created between 145 million and 66 million years ago, belong to birds, the researchers said. Carayas Pampas, which spans 80,570 square feet, is home to the most preserved dinosaur footprints and highest number of dinosaur swim tracks in the world, according to the paper. The plethora of tracks shows how the dinosaurs were walking, running, and swimming, but also how they dragged their tails and took sharp turns amid their journeys. The swim tracks were likely imprinted when the theropods scratched the bottom of the water with their middle toe, resulting in grooves that appeared straight or curved, like a comma. Evidence from more than 1,275 trackways were collected and analyzed. While most sites that feature dinosaur swim tracks only contain individual tracks, Carreras Pampas shows tracks that alternate between the right foot and left foot. A variety of shapes and sizes of the tracks also indicate that several types of dinosaurs wandered along the ancient coastline as a prehistoric highway. Some tracks had footprints that measured less than 4 inches, which is not common in the fossil record. Researchers hypothesized that those footprints belonged to either smaller theropods, like Coleophilus, or by juveniles of larger species. Medium-sized theropods, such as Dilophosaurus or Allosaurus, are likely responsible for the largest footprints, which measured more than 12 inches. Larger theropods, such as Tyrannosaurus rex and Gigantosaurus, usually create footprints larger than 16 inches. Track depths vary from very shallow to very deep, and researchers were able to estimate the speeds, gaits, and sizes of the track makers. While paleontologists were previously aware of the mass existence of ancient footprints, this is the first time the track site was properly studied. Researchers examine the footprints in swim tracks more closely by sweeping debris off the imprints and clearing sediment from the region where they expected to find additional tracks. Bolivia is also home to the Cal Oroco site, a fossil bed located about 250 miles southeast of Carreras Pampas that also contains a high concentration of dinosaur tracks. The country has one of the most extensive and diverse records of dinosaur track sites in the world, spanning the Jurassic, and Cretaceous periods, according to the paper. This story was originally reported in ABC News. This show is produced in partnership with TripAdvisor by Viator. Right now, the producers of this show have curated a collection of unique and fun experiences in Boquete that you can book at boquetedeals.online. It's a wonderful way to support this show and to find exciting and fun activities to participate in your local community, such as coffee tours, bicycle tours, hiking, and other fun Boquete activities. If you would like to support this show in a more direct fashion, please listen at the end of the show for details on how you can make a donation. Moving on to Panamanian national news, Panama's government is implementing a long-term power sector roadmap through 2050, including clean energy options, regulatory upgrades, and nationwide electrification efforts. Panama will reactivate national energy planning with a new long-term strategy that will take effect in 2026 and include competitive options for renewable energy projects. The National Secretariat of Energy confirmed to Strategic Energy that the National Energy Plan from 2025 to 2050 will enter into force that year, setting a renewed framework of stability, coordination, and investment signals for the power sector. The plan reestablishes state-led planning as a core public function, guided by a technical and participatory approach. It incorporates territorial, social, and environmental criteria and aligns the actions of multiple institutions under a coherent policy framework. The goal is to provide clear guidance to the market and accelerate investments in renewable energy, grid integration, and low-carbon technologies. A 4-year auction schedule will accompany the implementation of the plan. The first tenders, focused on hydropower and wind power, will be followed by additional rounds that integrate new technologies and support the gradual conversion of thermal generation units to cleaner fuels. The strategy aims to strengthen a diversified and less fossil-dependent energy mix. Quote, the first auction, hydropower and wind, will be completed by future processes covering all sources, end quote. Along the long-term planning initiative, Panama is advancing 3 strategic pillars: improving electrical service quality, achieving universal access, and reducing emissions. A modernization of the regulatory framework will be proposed to the National Assembly with reforms centered on service quality and consumer protection. The government intends to update technical standards and address public demands for a more reliable energy supply. The Universal Access Agenda includes electrification schemes targeted at the 58,000 households that still lack stable electricity service. This expansion will require regulatory adjustments to service obligations and operating models in remote or hard-to-reach areas. Prior actions include scaling up distributed generation, expanding rural electrification using clean energy technologies, and accelerating electrical mobility with electric buses and additional charging infrastructure. These incentives are being designed with government technical support to ensure efficient grid integration. Energy efficient measures are also a key focus, with updates to standards, labeling systems, and improvements in public buildings. The objective is to reduce consumption in high impact sectors as part of a broader national emissions reduction strategy. Finally, Panama is strengthening its open energy data system, known as CA Panama, to improve emission inventories, enhance institutional transparency, and support long-term climate planning. Quote, the country is consolidating the use of open energy data as a tool to improve emissions inventories, transparency, and climate planning capacity, end quote, the Secretariat concluded. This story was originally reported in Strategic Energy Europe. 2 companies are competing for the expansion of the Las Playas corridor on the Panama section of the Pan American Highway. The project involves widening 20 kilometers of the Pan American Highway from 4 lanes to 6 lanes, from El Piscino in the district of La Correa to Sajalias. 2 companies submitted their proposals for the construction project, expansion of the Las Playas corridor, whose reference cost is $250 million. The project involves widening 20 kilometers of the Pan American Highway from 4 lanes to 6 lanes, from El Piscino in the district of La Correa to Sajalias in Came. The proposing firms are Consortium I and C Panama, made up of Construcciona Urbana SA and Ininco SA, with an offer of $263 million, and Meco Construction Company SA with a proposal of $228 million. This project also includes the Campaya Bypass, which will consist of a viaduct that will connect to a large interchange in Sajalias. During the execution of the work, the following will be carried out: placement of high durability modified asphalt, relocation of public services affected by the expansion, extension and adaptation of drainage structures, expansion of existing vehicular bridges, and greater carrying capacity and road safety. Once the technical and economic evaluation is completed, the project will be awarded according to the guidelines of the public procurement law. This story was originally reported in Panamá Critica. Local news: child labor was discovered on 18 coffee farms in Boquete. At least 10 children and teenagers were found working on the harvest in 18 coffee farms in the district of Boquete. During an inspection carried out by the Ministry of Labor and Workforce Development in several agricultural areas of the region, the presence of 7 boys, 3 girls between the ages of 7 and 17 was detected, performing tasks considered to be high risk. After detecting this situation, the technical team of the Directorate Against Child Labor and Protection of Working Adolescent People and the Directorate of Inspection proceeded to remove the children and adolescents from the area and transfer them to camps for their protection. These inspections were carried out with the support of the National Police, the Ministry of Health, and Casa Esperanza. This collaboration strengthened oversight and preventative care on the farms visited. The Ministry of Labor reiterated that activities related to the coffee harvest are among the worst forms of child labor, according to Convention 182 of the International Labor Organization, due to the risk they pose to the health and integrity of the development of minors. Despite this situation, the institution did not specify whether the mothers and fathers of these children were summoned to learn about their socio-economic living conditions and determine the most viable solution for the children's safety. This story was originally reported in TVN Panama. First Christmas trees have arrived in Panama. This Tuesday, La Casa de Jamon received the first Canadian trees of the season, marking the early start of a tradition that grows more cherished each year for thousands of families. Ricardo Gado, owner of the well-known business, revealed that his sales this year have started earlier than usual. For the first time in our long history, we began selling Christmas trees on November 15th. And it wasn't for nothing. Saturday and Sunday were absolutely crazy. People were coming in looking for the perfect tree. The trees that are already available are of Canadian origin, prized for their height, density, and authentic aroma. They are offered in 3 sizes: small, medium, and large, with prices ranging from $80 to $150. They are the first to arrive, Gago explained. They are stored in refrigerated containers at 0 degrees to maintain their natural freshness. But this is just the beginning. New containers will arrive later from both Canada and the United States, expanding the variety and potentially adjusting prices according to availability. These are the first ones, but more are coming. Christmas is just around the corner. La Casa de Jamon, traditionally known for its hams and gourmet food products, has recently become the most anticipated destination for Panamanian families seeking a real, living tree steeped in tradition. Quote, "It's not just a tree," Gago said. "It's part of our memories, of what we experienced at home, and what we share with our loved ones." This story was originally reported in TVN Panama. In sports, the 2026 FIFA World Cup begins in June, and Panama's opponents have finally been revealed. By securing its bid as CONCACAF Group A winners, Panama is back in the World Cup after last qualifying in 2018. Following the 2016 World Cup draw on December 5th, Panama will begin its World Cup campaign in Group L. Panama's best result in the World Cup is a group stage finish in 2018, and they enter the 2016 tournament ranked 30th in the latest FIFA World Rankings. Group play begins for Panama on June 17th against Ghana in Toronto. Panama's World Cup opponents are in Group L with the following teams: England, Croatia, and Ghana. Panama's World Cup schedule will be Panama versus Ghana on June 17th at BML Field in Toronto, Canada. Panama versus Croatia on June 23rd at BMO Field in Toronto, Canada. And Panama versus England on June 27th at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Panama will play their three group stage games in Toronto and New Jersey with limited tickets available for each match. The 2026 World Cup will be Panama's second appearance in the sport's biggest tournament. The story was originally reported by USA Today. And now for your local weather forecast for the next week. Temperatures in Boquete are expected to be highs around 22 degrees or 72 degrees Fahrenheit, with lows around 13 degrees or 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Mix of broken clouds and isolated storms will lead to minimal to light rainfall with 0 to 2 millimeters expected on some days. Light breezes from the north at 10 to 11 kilometers per hour. UV index is between 6 and 7, high to very high, and expect 3 to 4 hours of very bright sunshine per day. This forecast is provided by weather2travel.com. That's all for this week. Thank you for listening to Boquete Weekly. If you would like to support this show, please go to patreon.com/boquete, where for $5 a month, you can receive an ad-free version of this show. For $15 a month, you can ask a question, which I will answer on air and receive a verbal thank you at the beginning of the episode. And for $35 a month, you become an executive producer, entitled to have input into the show and meet with other executive producers once per month to discuss the future of the show. If you would like to contribute but cannot make a monthly contribution, please go to buymeacoffee.com/boquete to make a one-time contribution as little as $1. Even the small contributions help me bring this show to you. I'm Sean Murphy saying thank you for listening. Theme music you are listening to is Wholesome by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under Creative Commons.